Hey, what's going on, Ram fans? Hope you're feeling better, a little bit better, bouncing back from that devastating loss last week. But let's put things in perspective by doing my periodic loop around the league. Thought it'd be a good time for it. We're going to focus on the NFC for the most part here. Who are the pretenders? Who are the contenders? And who should be pumped about their team? Who should be pissed? And who should be thoroughly perplexed? Man, it was a strange weekend and actually a really good weekend for the Rams. If you were down and out, and I'm sure you were after that loss to the 49ers, I think you got to feel a little bit better, considering what happened to a couple of other teams and a couple of other teams that the Rams should be rooting against. So it was a good weekend. And one final comment on the Rams 49ers game, a little bit of churn on the YouTube channel comments, and there was most 49er fans bopping in there, being pretty respectful, and one gentleman was trying to convince all of us that the Rams are a crappy team, basically. Get over it. We're all delusional. And then you compare the Rams and 49ers statistically and across their schedule. Not really much separating these two teams, maybe just a couple of plays. So we'll see how it plays out. The Rams will have a chance for revenge in a very important game in a few weeks up there in Santa Clara. So let's get into this. We will start with the NFC East and the Eagles. Man, that was a devastating loss for them. I mean, they're still in good shape, but the Broncos rally and beat them in Philadelphia. And suddenly they have a precarious one-game lead over the Commanders because they flew across the country and took care of the Chargers, who are kind of treading water right now. Not the same team we saw the first 3 weeks, that's for sure. So Washington gets a much-needed win, and Dallas, of course, they're 2-1. Took care of the Jets, so they're sort of kind of in the thick of things, but I really don't think they're going to be a factor. And then there's the Giants, who, I don't think they're as horrible as people expected, playing respectable football, not really monitoring them that closely, but I figured they'd go into New Orleans and probably take it on the chin, and they did. So in this division, I don't know if anybody can be thoroughly pleased. Eagles fans, you're playing like one of the top two teams in the conference, if not the league. You got to be pretty pumped, but at the same time, this Eagles offense and defense, I think, have both taken a slight step back from last year. That's just my opinion. The Commanders, as long as Jaden Daniels is healthy, they're going to be a very dangerous team, as they showed again. And Dallas, considering the loss of Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb missing some time, they got to be actually pretty happy with a 2-1 record, but I just don't think they're going to be able to sustain it. I'd be very surprised if they become a factor. And then the Giants at 1-4, Jackson Dart, he's a rookie, had a really bad play there, that bad turnover where he just kind of dropped the ball. But Giants fans, I don't think they're horribly upset with where they're at. This is a team that's added some really talented players over the last few years. They're pointed in the right direction. It's going to be another year. I'd look for the Giants maybe to be a factor next year, but not this year. So in the NFC North, the Lions have taken control, playing really good football after stumbling out of the gate. The Packers, I was all over the Packers, I had penciled them and the Rams in the NFC Championship game, and now I'm kind of wondering, every team, all the teams have a lull, but they better not keep lulling much longer, because the Lions are playing really good football. I would say right out of the gate that Lions fans are pumped. Packers fans are a little perplexed because they thought they were going to be better than this. And I think Vikings fans got to be pumped to get to 3-2. You get Carson Wentz slinging it there. Browns almost took him down, though. Wouldn't call this a very like a really good football team at this point. They do have Justin Jefferson, though. They got a pretty good roster. It's just a matter of I think with Kevin O'Connell as the coach there, the culture they have built there, they're going to be they can play anybody nose to nose. It's just a matter of can they rack up 9 or 10 wins and get into the playoffs. They're probably going to be on the cusp, I have a feeling. And the Bears, another team that's building for next year, I think. Some signs of life there. And I think Bears fans are probably maybe borderline pumped seeing, Caleb Williams having some moments, and they've got to love their coach. It's going to take some time. They got to be at time. They got to be a little patient there. And then you get to the NFC South and Bucks fans, man, Baker Mayfield. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. The fact that he was not named to the Pro Bowl last year, and man, he's looking like a Pro Bowl quarterback this year. It's going to be pretty competitive for the Pro Bowl spot in the NFC the way things are going. Matthew Stafford can make an argument for that. But they go into Seattle and win, put 38 up on this supposedly vaunted Seattle defense. And the Bucks are a team that I think is going to win that division. So if you're talking about a wild card race with the Rams and whoever, it's nice to see Seattle take a loss there. The Falcons at 2-2, a hard team to figure out, and the Panthers, same thing, 2-3. I don't know what's going on with it. I picked the Panthers to win this week, to take care of the Dolphins, and they did. Falcons had the bye. Saints at home get a win over the visiting Giants. So I think the Saints, they have some issues there. It's going to be a little while before we hear from them in a serious fashion. I love their coach though, but they're going to be looking for the wins are going to be few and far between this year, I think, for the Saints. Most of them are probably going to come at home like it did this week. And the Panthers and Falcons just up and down, two of the more unpredictable teams in the league. But Bucks fans pumped, Falcons fans, I'm a little confused, perplexed perhaps, hoping for better at this point. Remember last year, hey, they're going to win the division. This year, they're going to bounce back. Michael Penix, second year. And, I'm not feeling real confident about them. And then the Panthers, just 1 week, they look pretty great. And then next week, they not so much. So let's get into the NFC West. The 49ers, 3-0 in the division, and that's a major bummer, 4-1. The Seahawks take that loss. They're 3-2. The Rams leapfrog the Cardinals. Rams and Cardinals both 3-2. And why are the Rams 3-2? Because they're 0-1 in the division, and the Cardinals are 0-2 in the division. That's a bad place to be, 0-2. And not to rub it in a little bit here, but just goes to show you how big that loss to the 49ers was. I don't think it's necessarily going to cost the Rams a playoff spot. I think some of the analytics still have the Rams winning the division and getting into the playoffs. And I don't disagree with that. I think the 49ers have the easier path, though. If the Rams take care of the 49ers in a few weeks, we'll forget all about this recent loss. Now, that's probably not true. We'll remember that one for a while. But the Seahawks giving up 35 points. Is their defense not really as good as we thought, or are the Bucks? There's something else right now. And Emeka Egbuka looking like an all-pro contender, not all-pro, Pro Bowl contender at the wide receiver position. And I haven't even really watched them play, just going by the stats and some highlights here. So 49er fans, obviously pumped. Seahawks, even though they're 3-2, got to be pretty pissed off that they lost like that at home. Ram fans, if I'm reading the room, I think Ram fans are a little pissed off about how that game went, all the mistakes we made, the continuing blocking issues on special teams, some disarray in the secondary. Yeah, I think we're a little pissed, but a win against the Ravens would do a lot to remedy that. Remember, if it makes you feel any better, and it probably won't, the Rams could have very easily lost that Colts game. Remember the drop at the goal line that really kept us in the game, and then we rally late and win. And speaking of that, the Cardinals, you just see the way the Cardinals lost. Now they are definitely pissed because they go into that game. They're winning. Let me get the situation here. They're up by 2. They're up by 2 with 3 minutes left, and they're at their own 33-yard line. So what do? You're up by 2 at your own 33-yard line. What you want your team to do is to be somewhat aggressive and try to pick up a first down. And they handed the ball off 3 times. First time 2 yards. Next 2 runs, they got stuffed. They punt the ball away, and they lose. They lose to the Titans at home. That's a really bad loss. And of course, they had the play where they're running back, 70-yard run, and he just kind of dropped the ball as he was nearing the goal line. And the Titans recovered. And then they had another play. The Titans threw an interception in the red zone. A Cardinal player had it briefly, fumbled. The ball got kicked around, and the Titans covered in the end zone. Talking 14 points there, and the Cardinals lose. Man, that's so as bad as you feel about our loss and how that all went down at SoFi last Thursday night, Cardinals fans are probably feeling even worse because it was the Titans. Now, I mean, it's just, I know it's especially painful to lose to the 49ers, but the 49ers are at least a good football team, and the Titans really are not. And so let's look at the AFC real quickly. And the one thing I'm going to tell you is the AFC is kind of trash right now. I don't know who the Bills are probably the best team. Colts have been really impressive. Broncos up and down. The Chiefs, can't figure them out. The Steelers are probably going to be in the playoffs. I don't know who's going to challenge them for the title, the AFC North title. Trash division. Sorry, Mike Tomlin. And Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher was the one that called them out as the toughest division. Jags looking pretty good, and the Chargers, I guess, but they're falling off quickly. And compare that to the NFC. Let's look at it this way. If the Colts are the second best team in the AFC, they might be the 7th best team, the 6th best team in the NFC if they were in the NFC. But yeah, it's I think right now, who would you take, the Bills or the field representing the AFC in the Super Bowl? I'd probably lean on the Bills, but the Chiefs will probably make me eat my words. They seem to do that pretty often. Hey guys, wanted to remind you we have partnered up with MyBookie. Use the Rams Up promo code, new users, up to $500 in bets fully covered. So you just go to mybookie.website/joinwithramsup, use that promo code, and you can't beat it. And by the way, the syndicate, the groupthink betting guys that help me out occasionally, they are way up this year. And this week, I did pretty well. 2 out of 3. The one that I was wrong on, the money line pick, I had the Browns over the Vikings, and they gave it up late. But I took the Bucks, not knowing that Mike Evans was still out, not knowing that Bucky Irvin was going to be out. They go into Seattle and they win. And then I also took the Panthers over the Dolphins. A lot of people surely thought that was a reach, but I nailed it. 2 out of 3. Could have very easily been 3 out of 3. But hey, check out this deal on MyBookie. Pretty darn good. Can't beat it. So let's take let's zoom out and look at this NFC and, the front runners for the playoffs. The divisional titles are the Eagles, Lions, 49ers, and Bucks, and that could very well hold. And then you got, in my mind, 7 teams competing for the other 3 spots. The Commanders, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Cardinals, Packers, Vikings, and Falcons. And if I would expect 2 teams to fall off, 3 teams to fall off, it would probably be the Cardinals, Vikings, and Falcons. And that would leave the Commanders, Seahawks, Rams, and Packers fighting for 3 spots. The Rams could still win the division, but worst case scenario, they are fighting Seattle for a playoff spot, for a wild card spot. You just want to get to the dance. I know this team, we're thinking they're good enough to get a home game if not the number 1 seed. They got to get things turned around on a couple fronts for any of hope for that, for us to continue to have any hope for that. But what it really means is they got to take care of Seattle a couple of times. And, Yeah, they do well in the division. They got 5 games left in the division. They go 4-1, 3-2. That'll probably be good enough for the playoffs. But most importantly, let's take care of the Ravens, and we'll still be looking for our first conference win. We will have swept the AFC. Actually, we'll have 1 game left with the Jags. We'll have won 4 of our 5 AFC games. And after we get the Jags right after that, so a bunch of conference games to make our mark, and that's what we'll have to hope for. And I still have 5 teams, as I've talked about, 5 teams that I've said their seasons are over. Kiss it goodbye. Wait till next year, and that would be the Bears, Cowboys, Giants, Saints, and Panthers. And any one of them, hey, prove me wrong, prove me wrong. And the Cowboys very well could. I just, if you look at these teams on the YouTube channel, the teams I have listed on the right, 7 teams there competing for 3 spots, and the Cowboys, if they're the 8th team, or the Bears or the Giants or the Panthers, whoever it may be, that's a tough road to hoe. And I just don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going to stand by that. But yeah, a good place for the Rams to be overall. We can't be too distraught. They still have, they just got to out win a few games. And I think the point I was trying to make on our Saturday morning roundtable, as this being an inflection point for the Rams, I think they have the culture to make sure this points in the right direction. Having 10 days to prepare and regroup and get this thing turned around. And it's not like, hey, we're 3-2. Let's remember that we're 3-2, and we're in a really good place. We could still be in first place in this division in a month. Not convinced it's going to happen, but there's certainly reason to be hopeful. This team has played some really, really good football, despite what you commenters on the YouTube channel say from the Santa Clara region of the state. This team's nothing to be embarrassed about. They just have had some momentary breakdowns against the Eagles and against the 49ers. And if it weren't for 6 or 7 plays, this team would be undefeated. But hey, that's all in the past. Looking forward. Ian and I will be on board later in this week for our Rams-Ravens preview, keys to victory, out here from Rams Up.